Neck-throughs, guitars, they're like a guy that you won't have a beer with you.
I want to hear what's pushing the notes.
Freddie King and B.B. King, Albert King, and let's not forget Burger King.
I don't want to blow my knuckle out.
Stainless steel is the work of the devil.
These go to 11.
From the East Amplification Tone Labs in Baltimore, Maryland, it's the Amps and Axes Show with your hosts, Jeff the Godfather of Low Wattage Amps Bober and Mick Marcelino.
Well, good day to you, Mr. Bober.
Good day to you, Mr. Marcelino, and it's a good one.
Yes, it is.
It is.
Yes.
A mighty fine day.
Our little thing that we
do.
Yes, that we do.
For the people.
For the people. This will be, they're all live. We record them live, but this one will actually have the guys in with us.
We'll be with them on site.
Yeah.
At venue.
And, all of the disclosures. We're doing this afterwards. I was, at the time of the recording, I was doing like 100 around the Beltway and down Route 50.
True.
And trying to get to the show. Got there. We did.
Absolutely got there.
You'll hear the episode as we do our thing. But hey,
that's right.
Thank you to the fans.
Thank you, fans. Except for if they were fans. Hopefully they weren't fans because maybe they got hurt. But there was an accident that held you up. So hopefully it wasn't any of our fans.
Yeah.
And if it was, hopefully you didn't get hurt.
About that
that's
accident.
Right. But you were held up by an accident.
Yeah, that's right.
See?
Yeah, that GPS.
See, it just happened 10 minutes ago. You don't remember.
I know. 10 minutes a week ago.
Right. Exactly.
But make sure you go through ampsandaxescast.com and click
buy
on
your stuff through Amazon.
Yes, and click all the little links there. Everything is on that page. You don't have to search and do all the crap of plugging it in. Once you get there, sign up, join us, follow us, comment, all that good stuff.
That's right. We enjoy your company.
Yeah, man. And
even if it's virtual.
Go out to iTunes, which that icon's there too. Go out to iTunes, click on that thing, and give us a review.
Totally.
Because the more you do that,
what you're thinking.
The higher we rise up, the more we rise up, the more we can give you, and
more stuff.
That'll be great.
And the more people will find it, and the bigger the community grows.
Yes. This is one thing. Look, it's your show, but let's bring it to everybody.
Right.
All guitar players.
Don't be selfish.
Don't
be selfish. Share.
The first thing that we want to talk about today, and this is something that I stumbled upon.
Okay.
And I sent it to you. I sent the link to you.
You did? I loved it.
Yeah. There's a gentleman named Glenn Fricker.
Yes.
He's probably in my age bracket, I would think. If I had to put him, probably maybe a little bit younger than me. Maybe, I don't know. Probably.
Who knows?
Very
what does age matter?
Exactly. It doesn't matter.
It's a number.
But he is a studio guy.
Right.
Spectre Sound Studios.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken. I will
believe
double
so.
check that while you just kind of talk there a little bit.
I believe probably engineer and producer.
Spectre Sound Studios, yes.
There you go.
Okay, so he's got a YouTube channel. If you go out there, Spectre, and it's SPECTRE Sound Studios, all one word. Look it up on YouTube. You'll see all of his stuff. And guy's he's definitely into metal. He makes no bones about it.
Right.
He says, I'm a metal guy. This is what I do. I like to record metal bands. But
hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
So I'm scrolling through his videos. Very well professionally done, by the way. And I see one that says the fans deserve better. It's the title. And it says Autotune sucks across the thumbnail.
I already loved it. At that point, I already loved it.
Yeah. So his approach is spot on, without a doubt. Absolutely.
Right. I think the title says it all. The fans deserve better.
Yes, and he played a clip from Britney Spears that was supposedly a board feed.
Well, it was supposedly a warm-up.
And it wasn't. He called bullshit on it, just like he says. By the way, if you don't like guys who curse, I don't suggest you watch this. But
Right.
you know,
It's not for the faint of heart,
but
it's full of truth.
yeah, and you know, I mean, seriously, this is just how people talk. So if you can't deal with it, don't watch it. But if you can, it's a good watch because, and a lot of his stuff is, believe it or not. But that Autotune piece was just, it was awesome. It was just, it captured it perfectly. How he said we would not have probably 3/4 of the music that we hear right now.
Absolutely.
Bombarding us on a daily basis.
If it wasn't for major manipulation
oh my God.
in the studio.
What was it? Time correct guitars, time correct drums, literally machine made instruments, drums, guitars, and then just horrible vocals that are just auto-tuned to death.
Right.
And he plays these clips within his video, and he said, you know, it's not just the pop world. The metal world is now being exposed to this. And he played some band, and I don't believe anybody was playing anything. And that kid could not sing a note if his life depended on it.
Yeah.
Because it was just completely auto-tuned.
It was that young band. I don't even know who that was.
I don't even know. Yeah. He didn't say. But then the best part was when he said...
I mean, it was so overly produced.
It was like glass. It just sounded like okay, here's a good example. If you take a song and you make an MP3 and you crank the kilobits way down, right? Like if you're at 320 kilobits, it's really clear. It almost sounds like it's just as good as CD, right? So you can't hear any weirdness. Take it down to 80. The cymbals will sound like auto-tune. Because what happens is as you start knocking those bits out of there, it starts putting gaps. And when that happens, you start to get the AM radio sound, and it starts to sound a little underwater. And all the high end starts to do weird stuff. It just starts disappearing. Yeah, it's crazy. I'll have to make you some stuff, and I'll show you the comparison one time.
Is that just because it's not being as efficiently reassembled, or do you actually
removing data?
Right? Yeah. Well, yeah, because right,
and it's trying to compensate. It's trying to put like 2 bits minus 3 in the middle together. So you get like as much as it can reproduce. It's just they're just gone.
I wonder. I'd like to hear something that was not auto-tune and something that was auto-tune in that same
the same thing
with that same type of test. You know,
it's pretty different. You can hear that little glassy thing that goes on at the top end. That's the only way I can describe it. And what it is it's putting that correction back, because this is how it works. Your voice comes in, right? Comes in from an analog microphone, goes down the wire at the speed of light or electricity, whatever that is. Yeah. And then it hits, the board. Then it's got to go through a loop. It's got to leave the board, go in through this processor that is going to then have to process, get you to the correct pitch, and then convert it back.
In essence, takes the sound, breaks it down.
Yes.
Corrects it, reassembles it,
and
then sends it back out.
And it takes it out of a digital format, puts it back in analog, and shoots it back out the door.
Right.
So I think that's why it's not perfect. Because, and like my tin ear that I have, I hear this little squeaking thing that's going on with it. That's like, what is that? It's almost this hollow-ish sound to it. When they crank it up, that's when you get like T-Pain and those guys where it's like just going nuts.
Right, when it's artificially used.
Yeah. And
on purpose, but it's artificially used.
Yeah.
Which I can't stand.
Oh God. Seriously. But they but the thing is like what Glenn says in this video is that everybody's getting lazy. And the engineers are like, no, that's okay. We'll fix it. We'll fix it.
Oh, you tired after doing it 3 times? Oh, that's all right. Well,
And then he talks about Bruce Dickinson with Number of the Beast.
Yeah.
And that scream.
Oh, my God.
And that
it
scream,
just goes forever, and it's like perfect.
Yeah. And that's not anything.
Right.
The same thing with the Judas Priest clip that he shows in there is live. And Rob Halford does a scream.
Oh, right.
They have like a little 3-trail delay on it, but that was Rob Halford.
Oh, yeah.
And those guys, and the studio story is the best about Bruce Dickinson because he couldn't get this first part. And he goes, can I just do the scream? And the engineer said, let's work on it until you get it right. So he finally got it right, and he goes, now you can do the scream. And the scream, because he said he was throwing chairs and everything around the studio.
That was a good story.
Because he was getting pissed.
I mean, who knows how true it is? I guess it's probably come,
But it's a good story.
It's a great story, yeah.
And then that scream, like you said, who can do that?
Yeah.
That was just an amazing thing that he did on that album. And it just tells us that everything is just being homogenized, man. It's like cars.
Well, I mean, that's why there are so many more acts now. I was going to use the phrase so much more talent, but I had to pull that back. There are so many more acts now.
Yes.
Just because, if you can half sing and you look pretty good, and or you can kind of play, and or you can maybe dance or something, you got a few of those things. We'll turn it into an act.
Sellable.
You'll have somebody that can sell it.
Well, they call it a sellable commodity. Right?
Absolutely.
Because it's like, oh, well, look, she's hot, so let's put her up there.
I prefer people that are laden with talent.
And that's why. And that's why I have no problem saying that I'm a huge fan of Pink. Because when you see that woman, she sings. Meanwhile, she's suspended 30 feet in the air, flipping around on silk scarves and stuff. But that minus, even though that's crazy, she can sing. And she does. And she's got real guitar players. And she's got a real band. And those guys are real musicians. They're not, there's no fluff like that with her stuff. And you can hear that. And if you ever watch any of her live stuff, you'll hear her out of breath. You'll hear her huffing a little bit because, she's flipping around like a circus dole. And, it's like.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So that is,
hats off to her there is some talent out there.
Yeah. You just got to search for it.
There's not as much talent as there are acts.
Yes.
And that's the problem. There should only be as many acts as there are really talented people.
Back in the day, man, if you couldn't pull it, you just didn't get it.
That's right.
That was the way it was.
But, the cream rose to the top, man.
And everybody said, well, the record companies were making all these millions, and it was like, yeah, but guess what they were doing? They were just literally taking the cream right off the top because they were able to wade through and project down the road and say, these guys have got what it takes. Not all the time, but when the bands were the ones that did it, they did it well, and they moved it down the road.
I think the moral of it is that what used to be important was the raw talent.
Yeah.
You could refine raw talent.
Yes.
But not in the way they do it now. Not fix it in the mix, refine it.
Oh God.
Work it until it's true, really good talent.
Yes.
Now it's just like, oh, she looks great and she can dance, and
Could you imagine if
this rant has gone too long?
I'm sorry, but could you imagine though going to Yngwie Malmsteen, who is, the guy is like, he'll hit every note, he'll do whatever it takes to hit every note, and saying, you know what, don't worry about it, we'll correct it, we'll get it aligned. You were a little slow on that one passage, but we'll fix it. We'll push it back. We'll move it this way. Imagine what that Swede would say.
Yngwie Malmsteen would not have that.
He would not have that. There would be a Strat buried into some engineer's head.
Right.
With the neck broke off.
Let me get my other guitar. We'll do it again.
So, going the opposite way of this.
Right. With
just
a band that doesn't
not
fix it in the mix or use Autotune.
Oh my God.
And actually knows what it's like to play from the heart and soul.
And soul they do have.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Yeah.
And put on a very they entertain very well, I must say. So
yeah.
It's a pretty cool. You're gonna like this one.
And this is our second go round.
Yes, with one of our guests.
Yeah. In person though this time, because last time we were still doing it the old phone way.
Right.
Yeah.
That was early on.
Yeah,
so, we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back on site at venue with not one but two of the guitar players in Royal Southern Brotherhood, the two current players right now, and that's about to change again. But we addressed that issue with them. So we'll be right back with Devon Allman and Bart Walker.
Hey, this is Greg Martin with the Kentucky Headhunters. You're listening to Amps and Axes with my friends Jeff and Mick.
All right, and hey, and we're here. We're on site. We're at the Royal Southern Brotherhood in the great town of Annapolis, Maryland, with the one and only Devon Allman. Devon, how are you, man?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
This is a little bit different than last time.
It is a little bit different. You know, we are live and in person on site, man.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't get many of these, so we'll go to great lengths to get there.
Very cool. Better than the phone, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. So you guys have been going for a while. I mean, how when did Royal Southern start?
Oh man, it's we just hit our 4-year anniversary.
Really, already?
Yeah, it's been a quick 4 years. You know, we got 3 records out there and toured 30 countries, and you know, there's really been no break. It's been one album into another, one tour into another. So it's really been 4 years, just literally nonstop. You know, it's been kind of a blur. You know, but it's been a great ride, and you know, real proud of the records we put out and the fan base we built up, and you know, we won a Blues Music Award, and it's been a great run.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to see them on the Rock Legends cruise.
Yeah, it's a great cruise.
It's been a couple years. Yeah. It's been they just had the last one, right? And then I didn't go the year before. It was 2013.
Okay. Did you guys play the last one?
2013. Sorry.
I've played on all the Rock Legends cruises. Thankfully, Royal has done the last 2. So I did the first one with my own band. I did the second one with my own band and Royal, and then just did the third one with Royal. And I just got signed on for the 4th one with my solo band. And my dad's on the boat that year. Next year.
How cool is that going to be?
Oh, it's going to be cool, man. He's never done one, so he's
really
he's stoked. Yeah.
Wow. So you had 1 year where you'll probably double dip this year. You'll be playing with your dad too, but you were with Royal,
I'll be sitting in where I can. Sure.
I'm sure, man. I'm sure.
And sometimes it's pretty interesting seeing Pat Travers on the deck with a pole, literally 6 feet in front of you.
Oh yeah.
If you fell off the stage, you'd be in the pool, and 40-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah, yeah. It's it can be challenging up on the deck for sure. It's
your Les Paul all of a sudden becomes a sail.
Yeah. It gets a little rowdy up there.
That's when you got to play wireless or have a really short cord that disconnects before you hit the water.
Yeah, exactly. Or you just don't hit the water at all.
Well, that's the big plan.
Yeah,
that's the best. So, have you changed any gear lately? Anything new happening with you?
You know, I've been fortunate enough to endorse Gibson for the last 9-10 years, Fuchs amps for the last 5 years, Dunlop for my pedals and my picks, mostly my wah pedal and my picks, and Diodario strings and Mad Professor pedals. So there's my thank you to all those great companies.
Absolutely, man. Shout out.
Yeah. I think the only thing I really kind of changed is I'm always buying up guitars. You know, the collection's grown quite a bit in the last couple of years. But most notably, I bought a Victoria amp for the studio, and it's a little guy. It's a 112 14 watt. But I made the whole Rag and Dirty record with that one amp.
Wow.
Because it just really has, like the Fuchs is my ultimate live rig. It's, I've always gone for a tone that's somewhere between Carlos Santana and Dickie Betts, kind of that violin-y, dirty but clean, not too piercing. And Fuchs really, enables me to get that tone, especially on stage when I really want to push a lot of volume.
Yeah.
In the studio though, this Victoria has just been so responsive to any little pedals you put on it or whatever, and you can really wrangle it in, So that's really, at least for my last record that I did, that's been kind of the new piece that I'm getting off on. It's like the MVP of the record.
Cool, man. Yeah, that's a name I hadn't heard in a while. I mean, I was used to hearing their name bandied around years ago, and then hadn't heard it so much lately. Is this a new amp or a used one that you found, or?
Oh, it's brand new.
Oh, it's brand new.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I was in. They're based out of Chicago or right outside of Chicago, and I was at the House of Blues in Chicago, sitting in one night on a night off. Me and Zito and Cyril went down there and played a couple numbers, and I plugged into this amp and I hit one chord, and my eyes, got real wide, and I asked the dude that was hosting the jam night. I said, "What is that?" you know, and I really figured it would be some vintage killer Fender, you know, whatever. And he's like, oh man, it's Victoria, really expensive, but they're great, and it's, you know, the best thing you're gonna get, you know, next to like a vintage Fender.
Guthrie Govan now has a signature model through them.
Yeah, I'm not really familiar with their lines or anything like that, but man, I just, you know, I fell in love with it that night, and I remember making a mental note like that would be an amazing recording amp, and you should get one.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you know, 14 watts, and you can push it hard as hell in the studio. You know, it's so nice to have low power stuff that you can really.
There's like 3 knobs on the thing. It's really awesome. You know, and for what I was going for on that record, you know, which was way more of a you know, an organic kind of approach. It was perfect.
And 2 of the people that he mentioned, Zito and Fuchs, we've interviewed both of them.
Yeah, we've had them both.
Yeah, and great guys.
Oh yeah, man, absolutely.
You know. Andy's been doing it about as long as you, right?
I think so.
Yeah,
I forgot. I don't know when Andy started Fuchs, but
it's been going a good long time.
We're definitely coming up on a lot of years.
Yeah, man.
We're getting old and gray.
Hey, but we're all getting better.
Absolutely, we're getting better. So you were saying, you know, for the studio, what's going on in the studio with you? What do you have you had time to be in the studio? I mean,
I just put out my new record only about 4 months ago. So Ragged and Dirty is still charting and selling real well, and you know, I'm going to be able to go and support that record with a world tour this year.
Wow.
Starting in April. So I'm really excited about that. But yeah, you know, with trying to keep with a clip of, you know, I like putting out a record every year, kind of like my heroes did back in the day. And I think I adopted that after it took 4 years for me to get from my debut record to my sophomore record. You know, because I was just out there like literally touring nonstop. I had some writer's block. I had a label fold, like all these things that happens, you know, to a working musician. And I kind of vowed, like, man, that's never happened. Like, even if I have to put it out myself, which thankfully I haven't had to. But I was like, man, I want to put out a record a year. So
that's a tough regimen to do, man.
Well, especially with touring, you know.
Yeah, but you know, we make records pretty quick now. You know, we're making them in 4 or 5 days, and then the mix is 3 or 4 days. So you can flip one around, and you know, Ragged was less than a week. Turquoise was maybe 8 days.
So it's a live recording. You're like all set up in the same room, or you're tracking?
Well, yeah. You know, when we went in and did Ragged, Tom Hambridge, the producer, you know, he won a Grammy with Buddy Guy, and he put Susan Tedeschi on the map with her breakthrough record. And he's just got a really great track record, and we hit it off. He assembled just a crack band. I mean, these cats were amazing, and I don't think we played a tune more than 3 times.
Wow.
You know, and everything that, you know, popped down was, you know, drums, bass, and rhythm guitar. So not more than 3 times we had all 3, you know,
that's
components.
Beautiful.
So it was dope for me because, like, you know, those basics were done in 2 days. And then I went in and started guitars and, you know, did all the ear candy, all the lead guitar, all the lead vocals, you know, and at the end of 4 days it was done.
That is amazing.
It truly is.
You know,
I'm glad to see people are starting to do that again.
Well, in today's world too, with everything, you know, like, you know, all the fractal stuff and all the plugins, and you could spend years trying to perfect something that probably won't even get close to being to what it is when you just lay it down.
I honestly think after a few shots at something, you start straying away from the real feel.
I agree. I think it really depends on the type of music you're doing, because there's some stuff that does need to be slaved over, and some intricate or, you know, progressive, you know, styles of music that where you probably need your 6 months to go over every note. And
Dream Theater.
You know,
Dream Theater would probably be a good example.
Anything, you know, whatever the case may be, but like what we're trying to do is just, you know, some kind of modernized blues, you know, where it's just a few chords and the truth, and like go and sing from your heart, and you know, that was the cool thing about having Tom, because, you know, I've produced my own records, and I've sat there and, you know, maybe I'd ask the engineer, like, man, what'd you think of that, you know, and then I'd beat myself up inside, like I could do it better, I could, you know, and then you start chasing this dragon, you know, and it becomes
worst critic.
Well, it becomes very laborious, you know. And the great thing, you know, about Tom was, you know, I'd give it a few runs, and he'd go, The second one, you're not going to beat the second pass. And we're keeping the second pass. So if you want to keep playing, you can keep playing. But I'm using that second pass, and I'm like, you know what, this is great. Having this cat kind of X me out and just call me out and say, hey, man,
exactly.
Right, that's it.
Well, I can see it now. It's like, well, if you want to keep playing, I'll just buy a new set of wheels for my car.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Exactly. I'll get on Amazon and order records, and you just go ahead and...
Let me know when you're done. Let me know when you're done.
Take your time.
So it was nice to have, you know, a real... You know, a guy kind of, you know, cracking the whip and saying, let's not overthink this and let's do it. So that,
I love that. I really do love that.
Well, I think that, you know, I've heard some albums where the guitar player goes in and he's the engineer, and you can tell, like, case in point, Van Halen, right? His sound has changed. You know, where the guitars were, you remember they were like that, they were that part of the band on the first albums when Templeman was in charge. But then when, like, you know, the 84 and 5150 and all that came, all of a sudden now it's like there's a lot of guitar, you know? And it's because, well, the guitar player obviously is doing his thing, and there was a lot of drugs and everything else to take over that problem. and
lots of drugs and lots of layers. But and there was a lot going on in those albums, more so than the first couple. You know? But I mean, the first couple were...
Exactly.
The shit.
Well, because it was like, you know, they laid it down and
the essence of it.
Yeah, and just go.
You're trimming the fat. You're not overthinking.
Yeah, so, I like that.
Do you do this all in? Well, I imagine doing it in a few days. You're all in one studio. You know, you're not jumping around doing the whole thing in different studios.
Well, Turquoise, we kind of jumped around a little bit because I had to fly a bunch of guests in. You know, I flew in Samantha Fish and Luther Dickinson and. You know, Ron Holloway and this and that, but you know, Ragged was more of a kind of a core band. So when I say we did it in 4 days, you know, it certainly wasn't like 8-hour shifts. I mean, the first session was 17 hours, the second session was 12, the third session was 12, and the fourth session was like 19 hours. So it was it was exhausting.
Couple pots of coffee.
That's a little bit of work.
It was a ton of work, but it was really cool to walk away, you know, and I'm heading back to St. Louis, heading home, and going, wow, like we just killed that record. And
that's pretty cool, man.
I think Hambridge took like a 3-day like brain break and pulled the stuff up on his rig in Nashville to mix it down, and was texting me how stoked he was about it. And 3 days later, he's like, "Go check your email. The record's in your email." Kidding me? So it's you know, I think again, if you're approaching things from an organic perspective, you know, then you're really just going after what feels right and what sounds good, and he's certainly a very good gauge of what sounds good.
And you were saying the band was put together
by him,
assembled for that record. Is that the band that's going to tour it?
No. I've had a touring solo band together for about 2 years. Same cats, great cats. They're all young guys, real hungry, really great players. Taking them all over North America and Australia already. So
cool, man.
This year we'll get to Europe and back up into Canada and get out some places I haven't been able to go in a long time, like the Northwest, and very stoked.
Now,
drop some names, man. Who are they
in the solo band?
In the band, yeah.
On drums, we have Anthony Nanny. Anthony's been a buddy of mine for close to 20 years. I used to produce the bands that he was in, so you know, I kind of always told him, "Hey, man, someday I'm gonna put an actual solo band together. It's not like Honey Tribe was, where that was a kind of a revolving door of like a lot of really great musicians." The solo band is really about playing the songs that are on my record and keeping it kind of corralled in instead of just, you know, crazy hairy jam band kind of, you know, concept. So Anthony's really great. He plays the tunes. He's solid. Bobby Schneck Jr. is my guitar player. He was actually tour manager for Royal Southern Brotherhood at the age of 22. Wow. Did that for 2 years. He's an amazing guitar player. His father is a guitar player. He played in Slash's band as the rhythm guitarist. He guitar teched for Aerosmith for years. So Bobby Jr. has been, you know, involved, surrounded by the biz forever.
Yeah,
that is so wild.
My bass player, Steve Durst, is from Sarasota. He's a Berkeley-educated, amazing bassist. He resides in Nashville now. I brought him in years ago when Pedro Arevalo was in my band, and he was also in Dickie Betts' band. He was playing bass for both me and Dickie. And since Dickie got him first, obviously, whenever there's a schedule conflict, Pedro would have a filler ready for me, and Steve was the first fill-in that really kind of blew my mind. And so I kept his name in the hat, and when it was time to make the solo band, a reality, those were the obvious cats, and they're all my dear, like, best friends. So we
That's
just
so cool.
We have a blast. We're talking about bringing a B3 player out this year. So expand the band.
My favorite, man. My favorite.
Me too.
Now, one of the questions, I don't know if you had it or not, but did you go to 2-inch tape, or were you in Pro Tools only when you recorded?
Pro Tools only.
Okay.
However, the next record, I'm going to buck up, and I'm going to go analog, because I just set up my whole turntable and my vintage gear in the living room. And, I mean, literally, like, I've been on tour for 10 years, man. I mean, 10 years. Yeah. So when I've been listening to music, it's been on my iPod, my iPhone, whatever. But I finally just got a new house, and a fan of mine sent me a brand new in-the-box killer Audio-Technica turntable. And I've been waiting to get into a crib where I could kind of set it up and turn it up. And I went out and got vintage, like, Pioneer killer, tuner and vintage Sansui speakers.
Oh, this is cool.
And I just set this up like a couple weeks ago, and I literally played my first vinyl record that I had played. Like, I haven't heard that sound in 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
When I think I was like 21 or something like that, I had this little renaissance of vinyl, and I happened to have one set up in the house, and maybe for a year. But even before that, it was like when I was like 11 years old.
Yeah.
So it really hit me, and I was like, man, and I put Ragged and Dirty on, and I knew we recorded it digital, but I figured with it being on 180 gram vinyl,
Mm-hmm.
and don't get me wrong, it sounds killer,
Yeah.
but I know how much richer it'll sound if I record to 2-inch and mix to half-inch.
And there are so many people that don't know how different that sounds, man. There's something about it, And God, give me the snap, crackles, and pops along with it, man.
Well, it's like Marshan was saying, is as soon as you record that, it starts, it has a life at that point, and as time goes on, it changes.
Yeah.
Those highs aren't as they're just warmer.
Right.
Well, it's a linear issue too. I mean, as people know, the digital format consists of information being fed from one spot to another.
Sure.
A series of ones and zeros, and they've
right here.
There's exactly there's always a gap between the 0 and the 1, and it might be microscopic, but it is there.
Mm-hmm.
And they've gotten better at kind of like closing the gap a bit. But man, when you put on a record and the things you'll hear where it's the most obvious is drums, vocals, and acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
Like, it's so obvious when you put on a record. Like, I put on this Herbie Hancock record, and when the drums kick in, it's like, dude, there's no MP3, there's no CD, there's nothing that can make those drums sound like they're 5 feet away from you, man. The actual hit of the drum.
Even the 96 kilohertz stuff that you heard at Frank's place and all.
I heard the new AC/DC on 96.
That's crazy. I mean, one of your songs would be like almost a gig in size.
Sure.
But it's still, there's, like you said, they're just trying to shove as much information as they can.
Right. But that's the thing when it comes to a discerning ear is it's between clarity and pristineness,
exactly,
or texture and juiciness.
Yeah.
And that's like
a great way to describe it.
That's what we came up like. That's what you're missing. You can get it as clear and crystal perfect as you want, but you're not going to have the warmth or the juiciness.
See, I'm going to put that in a new drop because he's in one of our drops at the beginning.
Oh, cool. Oh, good. That's
you said I want to hear what's behind the note.
Yeah, man.
So we took that, and that's actually as our intro plays.
Cool, man.
You're in there.
Right on.
Yeah,
so now we can do that one.
There you go.
Yeah, that's good. And we had this discussion with one of the other shows about when I was listening to the AC/DC at 96K. It's pure, it's absolute. It's like they were right there,
but it just doesn't have.
And there's something wrong, man. There's just something. It's like that's not how you want to hear AC/DC.
Yeah.
You want to hear it how you were originally exposed to it, because they've been the same goddamn band forever. They should sound the same forever. They made the same 14 albums,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're in a progressive society that's really hell bent on synthesizing everything from 3D, printers of like printing food. They're talking about now.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Body parts. They're printing body parts.
Yeah, which I mean, for some people, I'm sure it'll really help them out.
Yeah.
But like at the end of the day, there, I think all it's really going to do, because you kind of can't stop the forward momentum of the world, obviously, but it will allow the people that are the purists to kind of find each other and hold on to the things that they're passionate about and the things that mean something to them, and kind of rally around that cause. And it ends up being a very cool, under the radar kind of club to be a vinyl lover, or to be an organic food lover, or and as we move further down, and I think about when my son's a grandfather, his grandkids will be way fast forwarded into a world that is
just synthetic,
But I truly believe that there will be this core group of people that found, black and white movies. And vinyl records and Zeppelin and organic food and like just all the kind of the real stuff, and I think we'll always retain.
Well, I hope so.
And I think the thing is too is that if you really remember back in the early '80s, there were some bands that when they were trying to go straight to digital, and it didn't work. And the reason that it didn't work is because the human ear, well, we're not machines, so it was too much. It was like, this is just too perfect. There's something wrong here, and it was rejected. And that's why you see now, when they go a digital format, they're going through a tube preamp to try to get that warmth back in there, and that garbage that it really needs, because we're still human when it all comes to it comes down to it.
There's like a hairiness on the signal. It needs a little. A little smoke on it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, man.
But, I mean, you're very passionate about that, obviously.
Yeah,
and,
totally.
That's
cool.
The passion, you have a ton of passion for the music, and I'm sure Royal Southern. But unfortunately, this is the last go around for you with Royal Southern.
Yeah, man, that was it was a really hard decision to make, man. I've been brothers with these cats for 4 straight years, and man, we have had some adventures. Let me tell you, But at the end of the day. I started to experience some burnout from the road, and just kind of had a kind of a gut check with myself, saying like, well, we've been touring 12 months a year for 4 years, and then I'm like, no, stupid, like you were doing this 6 years before that, so you've been literally on tour for 10 years, and it really hit me. I was like, wow, this month is my 10-year anniversary. Wow. Where I have been on tour every single month for 10 years. And typically, I'm out for 20 to 23 days and home for 5 to 7 or whatever it may be. So I haven't had a break in 10 years. Yeah. Now, most people work a normal job and, I don't get a break. I go to work. And, yeah, but you're not traveling the world. And it's the travel that wears you down.
Absolutely. Yeah. Most people think touring is glamorous, and they have no idea, man.
Yeah,
it's not.
Well, it's a trade-off because, I actually love travel. I'm a wanderlust. I love seeing the world. I love meeting the people and seeing the culture and seeing the museums and eating the food. And I'm a big fan.
And it's great if you have time to do that. If you have time to take in the world that you're touring.
Sometimes you do.
Right,
it's
I would hope so.
It's very fleeting, but you do. But at the same time, even though I love to do that, and I've heard it before, and I've always said it myself. I don't get paid to play. I get paid to wait for planes and sit in the vans and the buses.
It's a lot of hurry up and wait.
Yeah, and sleeping. I don't get to sleep in my bed. I miss my lady. I miss my son. I miss being able to cook food. I miss being able to drive my own freaking car. Like, these are things that a lot of people do take for granted.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, I'm not complaining. I love what I do. But what it came down to was I've got 2 bands and a home life and a son that's 15 this month. Wow. And I don't know. I mean, when I turned 16, it was cars and girls and see ya.
Sure.
And I would come home right in time for bed, and and hey, I hope that he has an awesome, run as a teenager and gets to experience all the good stuff. But I know that in a year that's coming. So I was like, man, something's got to go. Like
you got to see him while you can still see him.
I need to see him while I can see him. I've been gone 10 years. I really wanted to be able to tour my solo record and play my show, which really kind of encapsulates every little stop I've made along my path, whether it's Honey Tribe or, doing a song or two of my dad's or Royal material or my solo material or some cool covers I like. So that show means a lot to me, and I know the demands of this band was, to really be out there 90% of the year. So it took me a year to make the decision, man, because I love every cat in this band. There's no bad blood. It's all good. Their replacement for me is such a sweetheart. It's Jimmy Vaughn's son, Tyrone Vaughn, and he's a killer player and a sweetheart. And they're going to continue to proliferate and make records and keep going. And and just so the fans know, we've already talked about a year or 2 or 3 down the road some reunion shows and stuff. So it's not. We built this together, man.
It's not a permanent party.
If you're in the same venue or same area, you'll.
Yeah, for sure, man. Because I mean, dude, I helped build this thing.
Sure.
I'm very, very proud of it. We're all very proud of it, and we have the best fans in music, I think. And I just I really needed to be able to kind of be in control of my own schedule and go and tour when I want and tour when I don't. And,
right.
I'll get that luxury now.
Excellent.
That's cool, man.
Well, Devon, I know you're a busy guy, and you got something else to do after this.
I do,
and we're gonna continue with your partner in crime.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
and by the way, real quick, we did get to hear part of the sound check, and that was
sounds
smoking,
great,
man.
All right, good.
You guys gonna have a great show tonight, man.
Oh,
it's a great venue.
It's a great killer room. Yeah,
killer
for sure.
room. So, Devon, thank you very much for taking the time.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks,
Thank
man.
you guys for doing what you do, because man, it takes all of us to keep this crazy thing going. So
absolutely, man.
Man.
All right, thank you, my friend. Have a great show tonight, man.
Thank you so much, guys.
Take care. Well, and there you have the story. The story of Mr. Devon Allman.
You know what's neat? Real quick.
What is neat?
He put out on Instagram his turntable and his whole stereo setup, and he had some.
Oh, nice.
And he had some. I forget what the album is. God, it was some R&B band type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear the pop and the crack and the pop, and then the band comes in. Man, I was like, where did that ever go?
Right.
Well,
hopefully it's coming back. It is coming back, just depending on what degree it's going to wind up
am I
back.
turning out to be a grandpa?
It looks that way.
I work in technology. I'm avoiding it like hell. Hey, there's a second half to this, though.
Well, there is, and
Yes.
I'm glad we were able to revisit again with Devon, and
man.
he's done a lot since the last time we spoke. That's obvious, and moving on in life to new frontiers now. And,
A lot of touring, man.
A lot of touring, and he's doing it his way.
Yeah.
And he's
the way it should be done.
Absolutely, and he's stepping away from this for the right reason right now.
Yes. Yes. Which you can't blame the guy.
Your kid's only a kid once.
Yeah. And you got to do what you got to do when it comes to that.
Absolutely. I totally respect it, and he's not going anywhere. He's just stepping back a notch or two. You know, and God bless, man. Wish you the best, and for you and your family.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
We'll catch you again.
And he gave me some words afterwards, privately. When
Cool.
we were walking out. You were there.
Yes, I was. Yes, I was.
Yeah,
and
it was very cool what he said to me, man.
He's absolutely right.
Yeah.
So, all right, we're going to come right back with the new guitar player.
Yeah,
because Mr. Zito left, and now he has been replaced by Mr. Bart Walker. Okay, so we're back here on site at the beautiful Ram's Head once again with Mr. Allman's cohort in crime, Mr. Bart Walker. How are you, Bart?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Very good.
I've been bending his ear for the last 10 minutes.
Oh, well, I was tied up. Okay, all right. So you guys already did the whole interview. It's already good.
I didn't record
it's in the camera again.
So,
oh, well, I'm not saying it again. That's all you get.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to conduct my own this time.
There you go.
Now that'll make it work.
And our fans will like that anyhow.
That's right. All right, so let's we know you're out with Royal Southern, and we'll we'll get to that, but let's get a little history, like I like to do with most of our guests. Where Where did you come from? Where did you grow up? What started you on this journey with the six strings?
My dad is still a guitar player, and he got drafted by the Army, but he joined the Marines after he got drafted, and then he wanted to create like somebody to play with at his house, so he had a son, so he was gonna teach me how to play so he'd have somebody to play with. And I took it a little farther than he expected, to say the least. But it all started for me in bluegrass music. Like I didn't know there was an electric guitar until I was in my mid-teens.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So you said your dad was a musician, though.
Mm-hmm. Yep, still is.
So acoustic?
Yeah.
I would assume.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Guitars, banjos, mandolins, dobros, all that kind of stuff is around our houses.
Now here's the thing.
Where was this? Where did you grow up?
Just 20 minutes north of Nashville. So I was born in Baptist Hospital. Actually, the same place his dad and his uncle were born. So Greg and Dwayne were both born in the same hospital I was. Wow. And then I grew up in the country.
Yeah, I've seen that hospital, big hospital.
Now here's the one thing that I've noticed.
Okay.
I've known two guys that grew up on bluegrass music, playing it early age too, like 9.
Okay.
And then I met them when they were like 13, 14. I was like, this is insane because they're really good.
Uh-huh.
And then the one guy I met back when he was in his 30s, and he's just the most incredible guitar player I've ever seen. That bluegrass roots thing, man, is crazy.
Yeah,
I mean,
some of those flat pickers.
It
are just
creates.
incredible.
That's the thing. I mean,
know.
the amount of cleanliness and stuff and speed and technique that you have to develop in that, because there's no overdrive pedals, there's no distortion, there's no chorus, there's no delay.
Right.
You got to play everything. So
it's amazing.
When you translate that over to electric, then they become tools to add to it as opposed to things to hide behind.
Yeah, but and you learn dynamics doing that too, because it's an acoustic ensemble, and you got to know when to play, but play behind.
Who is it? Ricky Skaggs?
Yeah.
What's the band behind him?
Kentucky Thunder?
Yes.
They're actually my friends that I grew up with.
Really?
Nice.
Cody Kilby, the guitar player, and Andy Leftwich, the fiddle mandolin player.
Insane.
We all grew up competing against each other in like all the bluegrass competitions.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
There's some good roots. There's some good history there.
It's it's literally like watching Yngwie Malmsteen on an acoustic, but no bends. and
no scallops.
And no scallops.
Exactly.
And just and picking every note. That's the part that gets me.
Yeah.
Well, because it's an acoustic guitar, there's not really, you're not hammering too much on an acoustic or pulling off.
Right.
So that's cool.
It's a good place to come from. Man.
Yeah,
it's a really good place.
I was always jealous of that. My buddy Ronnie Miller, his cousin, was the first one. I forget his name. It's been 100 years, but I remember watching him going, "How do you do that?" And he was like, "Well, I do it at church because that's what he did. He played bluegrass, but he also played the church."
Wow.
So the kid was playing guitar all the time.
That's how you do it. Practice.
Yeah.
So, which I imagine you did.
Yeah, I mean, I never.
Well,
really...
first your dad, cracked the whip, and then he went, "Geez, he's better. You had to be better than him."
Well, that was kind of how all the multiple instrument stuff started popping up. Was he saw how quickly I picked. I started when I was 4 playing guitar. So
wow.
After that, after I picked up really quickly on that, and then he started bringing home other instruments, and was like, "Well, here's a mandolin. Can you figure that out?" And so I did, and I've kind of figured out and related it. And the banjo the same way, dobro the same way, bass, saxophone, all kinds of stuff.
Saxophone, yeah, even something with no strings.
Yeah,
I can see how you can pick that up.
Yeah.
Just pick it up.
So I mean, I would assume starting at 4, it was it a full size guitar or?
Yeah,
really?
It was my dad's 1967 Martin D18. I still have the guitar.
You're
There's home
me.
videos of me playing. And you can just barely see my head over the waist of the guitar, and I'm sitting there playing Wipeout,
that's
like
crazy.
Just little head poking up.
That is crazy.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome.
Wow, because I was going to say, what was your first real guitar, but we just got the intro to that one.
That was it.
Wow.
That was my first real
You
guitar.
said, what year? 60 what?
67.
Did that thing have a truss
D18.
rod?
The D18s?
Yeah.
I don't know enough about acoustics.
No.
No. Yeah, because at Martin's for a long time, they did not have a truss rod.
Yeah.
They ran like a hard piece of wood that was a T in a channel underneath the fretboard. Then they would put the fretboard over top, and that hard piece inside there would be like walnut or something, I imagine. Yeah. That would be the truss rod. That was it. But there was no adjustments.
No, and then once it gets out, you got to take the neck off and reset it.
Reset the neck.
Yeah, which is still like that. We have
the 14th fret hump. That's the famous hump.
Yep, that's it.
Well, that was your dad's guitar. Did you get one like it or something of your own eventually? What was the first one?
Well, after that, I started getting hand-me-downs from friends because of the whole "that's way too big for you," thing, and so I got an old Harmony right after they changed from Stella to Harmony. Those little bitty body, almost like the ones that were cowboy painted. But they were like, it's like the neck's made out of a freaking 2x4. It's even bigger than the Martin. But then, so that was kind of my guitar for then, and then my dad bought me an old Moss Right that was like the OM style, the smaller body, but still a regular size neck, and then Martins and Gibsons after that.
When was the first electric?
I don't really remember, and my parents debate me on this too. I always think it's around like 13-ish, because around then was whenever it was. My mom says it was more like 7, but I don't think so. Either way, she's not here and I am, so we're going with 13.
There you go. 13 sounds good to me.
Which, by the way, was he'd already been playing guitar for 9 years.
Yeah. Yes. And actually had already won international bluegrass competitions and stuff on guitar and mandolin, dobro, and banjo and all that. So at that point, my parents got me my own radio for like Christmas or birthday, something like that, and I ran in the back room and turned it on the local rock station that I'd heard of but never heard. So I turned it on, and the first song out the gate was "Skies Crying," Stevie Ray Vaughan, and I was like, what is that?
Wow.
I need that. I want that. I don't want any more of this stuff. I need that. So at that point, I went in there and asked my dad, and he said something like, well, you better save your lunch money because I ain't paying for nothing like that. We don't do electric stuff. But eventually he bought me a guitar, It was old Harmony again, those old. I found one on eBay because I want to buy another one just so I can have one,
So you don't have that one?
No. Yeah. No, it always, like I grew up out in the country, so anytime you got a new one and some other kid was coming up and they wanted to learn how to play, it just kind of got passed around. So it's in the area of where I grew up, but I don't know where.
Wow, that's
pretty cool, man.
That is pretty cool. That's pay it forward, man. That's totally
absolutely.
Pay it forward. You want to learn? Cool. Here, start learning.
Start
learning.
I'm just blown away.
Yeah. So, along with that, what was your first amplifier? Was it a little Harmony thing?
PV Rage.
There we go.
PV Rage, and then
you and Davey Knowles, you guys share that story.
Awesome. And then my parents upgraded me to a PV Pacer. Which was an older amp, but cooler amp.
90 watts.
Yeah. It was quite the beast.
You're in the big time now.
Yeah, I don't think they knew what they were getting, so I plugged in and turned it up, and they were like, uh-oh. We shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, they were loud little 112 amps for being transistor.
We're going to have to stick that kid in the basement somewhere. We're going to have to dig a basement.
That is a true story as well. that amp stayed downstairs in the concrete basement.
There you go. So when did it come out with your first band, your first group of buds?
It was this terrible, terrible Christian rock band when I was, again, probably 16. I think I could drive. 15, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And horrible band when you go back and listen to it. And the name of it was Dust, because like the dust of the earth, that God made from. But then we found out there was another band called Dust.
Imagine that.
Yeah, right. So in order for us to not get in trouble, we put another T on the end. So it was Dust.
I thought you'd get really creative and call it Dust to Dust.
No. We didn't have that much going on up there. Just one more letter.
Just one more T.
Yeah, one more letter is all we could muster.
Just put one on the front, one on the back, and really screw them up.
Dust. Yeah. The record's skipping. It's not a record.
Oh, man.
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
I'm sure you did the local circuit. Well, I guess it would be a church circuit. If you were
Yeah,
playing
well, yeah, around that time and where we lived, again, everybody was doing like, Gaither stuff, gospel, like, the old quartet, white folk gospel, and then bluegrass gospel. So nobody wanted to listen to us anyway. It was a bunch of old heads. They were like, oh, we don't. So it was like one coffee house in Springfield, Tennessee. We'd go down there and play like once every 2 weeks or something. But that was very short lived.
That might have been the beginning of like all the Christian rock bands that are out now. You might have started it.
I doubt it. I doubt it very seriously.
So when did the whole rock thing get serious for you? When did you decide to go?
Well, everything had always been very serious. When I was,
it's probably the wrong way to approach it.
The moment that I knew this is what I was going to do was around the same time period of when I got an electric guitar, and I had learned this killer Tennessee waltz arrangement that my teacher at the time, Marlon Rood, taught me. And I went out and they had this thing called the Minstrel. It was like a show that they did in a theater, and they had all the school choirs come by and they would do some funny stuff. And so they had me on there as a novelty, of course, because I was a little bitty dude playing a guitar. And so I played this incredible rendition of Tennessee Waltz, which I still remember to this day. I can play it for you after this.
Wow.
And
cool.
At the end of that, they turned on the lights, and everybody in the whole place was standing up, which at the time seemed like 1 million people, but it was probably like 250 when I go back and look. But at that moment, I was like, all right, that's it for me. I don't care about anything else. So this is what I'm doing.
This feels good.
Yeah.
Now, I got to ask, and this is just because we're right here, do you play with that ring on?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah. I used to wear a lot more than them, and so now
we'll have to get a picture of that thing.
It only gets in the way if you turn it over.
Yeah, exactly.
Or it rolls over on its own. That's a hunk of metal on your hand there, man.
And a hunk of amber.
That is cool.
I got a turquoise that I normally wear on this finger. It's about that big.
Wow. Well, we'll have to take a picture of that. Put that up.
We got to get pictures of both of the guys.
And you know what? We'll have them on the front page.
Yeah.
Because we'll put them out on Instagram, but we'll make sure they're on our front page.
All right. So what was going on between that time and now? I'm sure you had a few high school bands and stuff like everybody did. But what brought you into this fold?
I actually never really did the garage band and stuff like that.
Really?
I never got into that. But now, granted, as we get into my life, I have to preface and say I am horrible at my own timeline.
Oh, that makes two of us.
But I did a lot of living in a little amount of time, which is where this all came from.
Is that why you got a 6-year gap between what your mom says and what you think?
Exactly. And she is probably right. You know what I mean? Because she's the teacher and she's my mom. So
right.
Well, there you go.
She didn't do any of the drinking or the drugging or none of that stuff. So she was way better. But anyway, what was the question?
From that time to this, I mean,
see what I mean?
So you went no high school bands. And I thought, how the hell did he get into this position that he's in now?
I had done, like the high school jazz band and marching band. I played drums, and I was in that. Played saxophone. That's where it all came from. And then as I left high school, and I did all-state chorus and all that stuff, and then I got really into like operatic stuff and musicals and things like that. So
wow.
So then I got a full ride scholarship to before that, or kind of at the same time. My band director in high school was also a sergeant in the Army band, and he was like, "Man, I'd hate to never get to play with you again. You should come join the Army." And I was like, "No, I'm having way too much fun, and my dad's a Marine. I'm finally almost able to be able to decide what I'm going to do with my hair other than this high and tight that I've had for 18 years. No way." So he ends up talking to me into go sitting in with the band, and I did. And then I was like, well, it's a pretty cool gig. So I joined the Army.
Wow.
Went to Fort Benning, Georgia, the infantry center, and did all that training, and then came back to play in the band, which I thought was hysterical at the time. And so then for the next 8 more years, I still had a high and tight. And then at the same time, though, I got a full ride scholarship to go to college as an operatic vocal performance major.
Wow. What don't you do?
Damn, man.
Don't you do?
So at that point, my plan was to get done with college, move to Germany, and sing opera, and that was the end of it.
That's a first.
That's
a first.
Yes, that is
For
an
us.
absolute first.
I told you I did a lot of living.
That's right.
And
that is wild.
yeah. So at that point, I went to college, and getting out from under a Marine Corps dad that was a deacon in the church. My mom was a teacher. Then going to basic training with a drill sergeant, and then getting out and going to college. I was freaking hog wild. You know what I mean? So at that point, I went a bit crazy and didn't really focus on school so much. So then we had a lot of fun in that time. And then there was a blues jam that was like every Thursday night when I was in college. And so I went down there and did that for a little while. And then that was when I figured out, I don't need the legit stuff anymore, you know. So quit school. I got kicked out of school. And then I was put on probation. So wait.
They made me.
So
quit.
I got a full ride scholarship.
This timeline's getting crazy.
I told you.
I love it.
I told you, man. I'm so scatterbrained, and I did so many things at the same time. So I had a full ride scholarship to college, and then the Army was also paying for my college. So I was getting a check for tuition every semester.
Wow.
Which makes the fun easier to have.
Oh yeah.
So then I decided
that's known as subsidized fun.
Exactly. And that's a great term.
There you go.
Use that.
There you go. Feel free.
Yeah. So then I got a 0.7 GPA my first semester. You know, so
0.7.
Yeah, I was like, well, it can't get any worse than that. So the next semester I got a 0.4. Turns out it can. And so then they kicked me out for a year. And at the same point I was like, I'm still going to do this. So I went back to school, did the same thing again, and then I got kicked out and I quit and moved to Memphis and started playing on Beale Street and down at the casinos.
Wow.
Wow.
All that stuff. And played with Preston Shannon and all that. Then I moved back to Nashville 4 years later. I started playing in the BB King All-Star Band at the local BB Kings in Nashville. Mm-hmm. Opened for BB a couple times, and that was insane because after the show, he came up to me the first time and he said, "You sounded good, son. You sounded good."
It's like Joe Bonamassa.
About fell out, you know.
Right.
And, so then, at the roundabout then, I met a dude named D. Scott Miller in Nashville. And he had just met the day before a guy named Bo Bice from American Idol.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've heard that name.
Yeah.
And we actually played here years and years
Oh, you
ago.
played with Bo here?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And so Bo was looking for a guitar player, and D. Scott had just met me, and so he told Bo, he said, "Man, there's this curly-headed dude with a nose ring running around town. He'd be perfect for your band." So I went out on the road with him and toured for about 4 or 5 years, and he's still one of my best friends. He was in my wedding. And
nice.
Then, you know, I toured with my band, the Bart Walker Band, for the past 4 or 5 years. We did 13 countries, and then I got met up with Mike Zito. He became kind of like a big brother to me when I got sober and stuff. And then, you know, on to this, and he was deciding to leave, and Ruben gave me a call and asked me if I would be interested, and I was like, yeah.
What?
You know, right?
Wow.
Cyril Nev, what? You know, so yeah, and here we are. So I jumped through as quickly as I could.
That's awesome.
That is great.
Well, that's your life as you remember it.
Exactly.
And that's, you know, that's.
And there's other people that can fill you in on all the holes that I don't.
No, he's full of shit, man. This is the way.
Exactly. You're gonna get callers in and be like, "That is not right. What actually happened?"
I know this, dude. I know this. Let me fill you in.
He grew up in Wisconsin.
You're right. I don't even know why he says y'all all the time.
It's actually Les Paul's kid, you know. Yeah. Oh, so speaking of names, any relation to Butch Walker? Do you know Butch Walker?
Mm-mm.
No. No, he was is I'm sure. He was a big songwriter and guitar player and like frontman extraordinaire. He had this band called the Marvelous Three, and they were. I think I saw them years and years ago. It might have been a NAMM function that somebody brought them in for, and one of the best live shows I'd ever seen. So, and he's like supposedly written a lot of big like rock pop hits over the years and everything.
Yeah.
So I was just curious if you were any relation.
Not that I know of, but you never know.
Yeah, it's possible.
There's a lot of walkers out there.
There sure is.
Yeah. Well, Bart, Butch, it's
right.
You can mistake them for each other. But let's talk gear and recording and stuff like that. Are you? Did you record anything? Well, you probably did if you toured with your solo band, right?
Mm-hmm.
You probably did have some.
Yeah, I have 2 records out with them. I was on Bo's 3rd album as well.
Oh, nice.
And cut all the guitar tracks and mandolin and banjo and dobro on that album. And then did my record, which is all just guitar stuff. And then on the new RSB one, I also put some banjo and mandolin on it. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Are you a guy that likes to play real? I like to say real gear in the studio, or are you a virtual kind of?
I'm a real guy all the time. I'm an analog dude. Like
that's cool.
Hardcore,
Hardcore.
Yeah. So in the studio, I'll use, which I used to run on the road all the time, my 64 Super Reverb, my 69 100-watt Marshall, all my Category 5 stuff. I'll use it because it sounds a little different too.
Yeah, I saw that Cat 5 sitting out there.
Dude, that thing is a freaking beast. It's the best thing that I've ever had.
And I have the Marshall and I have the Super. So
Yeah,
I mean, they're mainstays, man. They're just like
You
iconic.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't get away from that.
Right.
Well,
of course, I play what I build, but I don't take those
exactly.
out.
Yes.
Yeah.
But and guitar wise, I saw you were a Les Paul guy, so.
Yeah, and if you talk to people from different points in my life, they'd be like, Les Paul, what? He doesn't play Les Paul.
He plays a Kramer.
Yeah, no. That's one that's never been said about this guy. I'm not talking any smack about him. I'm just saying I don't know.
That's okay.
He's not the point. He's not the pointy headstock kind of guy.
Yeah, I'm really not.
I got you.
I did a Strat hardcore for a long time. Like I said, Stevie was the first electric guitar player I heard, so that was kind of where I chased it for the majority. And then when I started with Bo, I used the Les Paul a lot because it was more of the Southern rock type of thing. We were touring with Skinner and 38 Special and REO Speedwagon, Styx, and all that kind of stuff. So it was more of the rock and roll kind of thing. In my band, I did always Strats. And then I always wanted a 335, but I never wanted to drop the bread on a 335, So I was my band was in the International Blues Challenge in Memphis. They do like 150 bands from all over the world or whatever. And my band got second. And
my God.
I won the Best Guitar Player Award. So that 335 that's out there was actually one of my trophies. It has the BMA logo on it. Yeah. And then the Category 5 was another trophy. So I have another Category 5 at home.
Oh, my Lord.
Wow.
That's priceless.
What the hell is going on?
It doesn't even say like what the amp is. It just says Best Guitar Player. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So it's awesome when you carry that in somewhere. It's like the most pretentious thing you could ever do.
Look at this jerk.
Yeah, it's like it's like the wallet thing from Pulp Fiction. Which one's your wallet? It's the one that says "bad mother." Which one's your amp? It's the one that says "best guitar player." Thank you.
That's funny as hell.
That is the best.
And it's I feel bad for the Cat 5 guys because it doesn't say Cat 5 on it.
But, it does. It says Cat 5, but it doesn't say like the Andrew model or either.
Okay.
So where the model would be says 2012 Gibson Best Guitar Player.
Wow. That is pretty freaking cool.
So
you got that going for you.
Yeah. So to answer your question, I play both kinds of guitars, Fenders and Gibsons.
All two kinds. That's right.
Well, what's funny is when I saw the Allman Brothers for the first time, Government Mule opened up, and I had no idea. Yeah, I'd never seen them. Mm-hmm. And I was expecting to see.
Was that a good day?
Yeah, right. And
bonus.
But Warren was playing a Strat with Fender laces. That's what he played when he first joined the Allmans. And I guess it was David Allan Coe days, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he was getting that sound, but they were Fender lace pickups.
Yeah.
Lace sensors, right?
Sensors.
Yeah.
I mean, they do have supposedly different. Well, they do have different levels, and one of them is like supposedly hot, the red one or something. Like that,
and there's
hotter.
like no magnetic pull. Really weird how those pickups and lace now they make their own. They make their own stuff outside of I guess they left Fender. And now they have those crazy looking, like exposed things.
Wow.
The aluminum pieces.
Yeah, it looks like an aluminum bar.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah,
if you go in some of the guitar magazines, you'll see them every now and then.
Yeah, I put a lace in the bridge on my acrylic. The clear acrylic, because I needed something that was just had no noise. It didn't really matter what it sounded like, because I only opened up like one song with it.
Yeah, exactly.
So it had to look cool and not make enough noise, not make too much noise. So it was good.
But that's wild. Both guitars. I like that. That's
both
good.
kinds.
Yeah.
It's like that.
We play
both
country.
kinds of music, country and Western. Exactly. I try to just take words from movies and just modify them slightly, and then use them as my own.
I usually sit in the car and sign the check on the dash while the car's running.
Exactly.
Yeah, we use too much of that. If you take what already came before and don't change it enough, there's probably a $7.5 million lawsuit in the future.
Right?
But,
I heard about that.
Oh my God, that's just crazy. I don't know which side to fall on. I really don't. But you know what? I don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't care.
Could not care less. I'm glad the Marvin Gaye folks are getting some dollars, though. That's good.
Absolutely.
Dude deserves it.
But speaking of Karen, I do care about this band. When did you join? When did Mike
October.
leave and you join?
October. We had like a switch off moment on the Blues Cruise this past year.
Really?
So we both went on, and we had 4 shows. The first 3 shows he played the first show he played the majority of it, and I came out for the end of the show. The second show and the third show is kind of half and half, him first, me last, and then the last show I played the majority of the show, and then he came up
for the final.
Final hoorah.
That's really cool, man.
And then after that, he split and went with his band, and we flew to Europe.
Nice.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Nice.
Now I have a question, because you got the beard. How old are you?
Yeah. Well, how do you think I am?
I don't. You've seen.
I think we're gonna have to ask his mother.
Yeah, catching on quick. This guy.
There's probably like a 9-year difference here. You look very young.
Really?
And it seems like there's a lot in this.
I told you
short
I did
period
a lot of
time.
living. I told you I did a lot of living, and I didn't even go into the fun stuff.
We're gonna have to have him back on for that
That's
show.
right. This is a podcast. We can go anywhere we want.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, no FCC here.
That's right. Yeah.
So I'm 32.
32.
Wow.
Yeah.
32.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, I remember doing gigs when I couldn't drive, but that was. I mean, for me, that was almost when they invented cars. So that was a while ago,
Yeah, I mean,
wow.
Think about it. It's not too far from learning how to go to the bathroom on the bowl and picking up a guitar.
Yeah. Well, that's what people are always
amazing.
telling me. Like, man, it's like a part of you, And it's like, well, yeah, if you look at it.
Absolutely.
I was learning how to speak English at the same time that I was learning playing guitar. So it's just.
You've been playing guitar for 28 years.
Yeah, man.
So, on top of everything else, you just said speak English. Do you speak any other languages?
Well, that's a funny one, because with singing opera stuff, everything majority of it's German or Italian or French so I speak all that because I had to take dictation classes. However, I know not what I say. So I can go to Germany, where our record label is, and sit down and read him something verbatim, and he's like, "You have such perfect German." I'm like, yeah, but I don't know what I said.
What did you just make me say?
Sounds good, though, right?
What did you just record me saying?
Right. Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That's hilarious, man. That is hilarious.
So yes and no, I guess.
You speak it, but you don't understand.
Yeah,
it.
right.
That is wild.
Yeah.
There's no end. There's just no end.
I'm going to run out of a hard drive.
I know.
Man, I'm glad you said drive. I'm going to run out of a heart. Wait, what?
It's not like that. It's really not.
Fully clothed.
Yes.
Everything's cool.
That's right.
It's all right.
That's right. But the room is getting very warm.
Yes,
Right.
it is.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I imagine you got things to do and places to go, and probably a meal to eat before the show.
Oh, yeah.
And
we got to hear that rendition.
Oh yeah.
You got to do that for us, man.
I'll do it.
I mean, welcome to the Royal Southern Brotherhood, and you came in and Zito left, and now Devon's leaving, and his replacement is in the wings.
Yeah.
And,
Tyrone.
Tyrone. Maybe we'll hook up with him at some point.
And
I'm sure there's a story there too.
And
oh yeah.
And
He's got
everybody,
great stories.
when you go to the show, of course, we're going to have all the links. So if you got Facebook, anything like that, we'll put those links out there so the fans can connect with them. And
sure, man.
I mean, that is some crazy stuff, man.
Didn't know you were getting that, did you?
That's a lot of life, man. That's a lot of life.
That is too cool.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Well,
the best guitarist.
Yeah,
the. Don't forget that.
The. That's right. Well, the best guitarist,
Yes,
Bart.
sir, man.
Thank you so very much for taking the time, man. It
Thanks,
was a
brother.
freaking blast.
Man, thank you for having me,
you
man.
know, have a great show tonight, and have a great run with the Brotherhood, my
Thanks,
friend.
bro. Appreciate it.
Take care. And there you have his story.
I don't think I've ever laughed so hard in my life.
That was fun. I had to leave the room for a few minutes. I came back in, and you were almost crying. You were laughing so hard.
He's
and that's before we started the interview.
And you know, you look at it, it's so funny. You can't look at anybody today and think anything. You know, I see this guy and I'm like, well, he's in this band, so he must have his chops. Everything's got to be good. Hey, he's a classically trained singer. You know,
some of the stuff he's done. It's like he said, he's done a lot of living.
And 4 years old playing guitar. I mean,
that's ridiculous.
It was just crazy.
He's going to be an opera singer.
Yeah, insane, man.
I mean,
but just
what a talent there. Just, I mean, what a talent.
Yes.
You know, he just does so many things.
Now, I didn't get to stay. I had to leave.
Yes, you did.
You got to stay with your lovely wife, and but I did get to hear them while they were warming up, and very just feeding off each other like nobody's business, man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just you can't fake that. You know what I mean? You got to have what it takes to be able to do that type of thing.
I can tell you firsthand, there was no faking anything.
Yeah.
They were just
not an auto-tune in the place.
No. They didn't need to fix anything.
No,
because it was a really good show. And I know this is kind of weird because we just interviewed him. Now we're talking about the after show, but I did see the show, and it was a really, really good show.
That's cool.
Thoroughly enjoyable.
Yeah.
You know, if you can see these guys while this incarnation is still out there, if they're still going, go see them.
Absolutely.
Go see them. It's totally worth it.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, just all stellar, and Cyril Neville,
an
icon, you know.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
and it was funny because after we interviewed, he came in, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, do I say anything? You know, because I'm like packing up the stuff, and he goes, "Hey, how you doing?" And I was like, "Hey, how you doing?"
You say, "Hi, Cyril."
You're a Neville,
right? You're like a Nola god, right?
Yeah, I'm like, I didn't know what to say. I was just like, hi. Yeah, this is like,
but I mean,
legend.
Even the rhythm section, Charlie Wooten and Jan Rico, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it was a very good show.
Fun time had by all.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I wasn't there.
I'll tell you afterwards how fun the time was.
There we go. So until next time, my friend.
And there will be.
Yes, there will.
That's right.
I am Mick Marcelino, and you...
I'm still Jeff Bober.
And we are saying...
Be sure and follow the show on Twitter @AmpsandAxes. Also, make sure you like the show on Facebook. For news, comments, and everything else, visit the webpage ampsandaxescast.com. Thanks for listening.